sounds like you are doing exactly what your mother told you. Have integrity. Have a system with integrity. You just thought it was there. And there is some integrity to it. You met a lot of people with integrity, but then you found out, whoops, there are flaws here.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, the only people that really don't have a whole lot of integrity in that industry is the ones who are working for the banks and the big corporations and the big insurance companies. And it's like the reason they were hired at those positions was because it almost seems to me, after experience now of seeing it happen so many times, seeing the patterns, is that the bank actually tell them the only way you get this job is if you're willing to take away the due process from the Canadian people. If you're not willing to take away the Canadian due process, well, then you're not hired. And literally, that's what it seems to me, that all the financial, lawyers, that's what they do. They're Canadian people. That is their go-to move, is bully them if they're asking reasonable questions. They just do that, right? Mm-hmm. It's really obvious. And when you look at our YouTube channel and you start listening to all the conversations, you start seeing that's exactly what the institutional lawyers do, the institutional employees do. That's what the institutional collectors do, right? If you have a collector calling you, it is really easy these days to get rid of them by bringing up this information. Very applicable to your life again, right? Do they have proof of ownership of the debt? If you can show me as a collector that they have verifiable proof that they own the debt still because they could have sold it, then I'm more than happy to pay you out. But until you have that, you are collecting on a debt that you're not even sure that your client owns, right? And that's very unprofessional. And you say anything that, and down those roads, those collectors these days, most of them are hearing this stuff from average individuals and starting to look at it to themselves. And again, they're collectors trying to make a living for their family, and they're forced in these positions. And now, they're hearing it. They're hearing it from people, and when they do hear that train of thought, they go away from it now, because collectors get paid a commission, and if you're impossible to collect from as far as they're concerned because you're spewing out these good information, then they're just going to leave you alone. And the end result is you're left alone, right? And that's what most people want to be.
Do you have any last words for people?
Well, yeah, I think one thing I want to tell people is that we don't have anybody coming to save us, right? We have to save ourselves. This is very important. And the only way to do that, because we all are looking out in the world now. There's nobody that goes, this is going great. Nobody is doing that anymore. Therefore, there's something being like a failure here. So, for example, there's people who are homeless, right? And they're not getting enough food and that type of thing. The distribution of the food and the resources is really what we've put these people in charge of, and they've miserably failed. Therefore, we have to come save ourselves. We have to come together, the powers and the people. And I would say go to unitedwestandpeople.com, look into us, sign up. And again, how you sign up is you just send 3 really simple complaints. And now you'd be also signed up into joining the group who is looking for full access to their birthright, which is their bond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is very interesting. It goes in with so many other things about banking stuff. I have just been listening to Catherine Austin Fitts, who says that $31 trillion has been stolen from the U.S. economy into the black market. Now, that's a much bigger, a humongous thing. And apparently, almost all retirement funds that people have put into for 40 years has been stolen, isn't there? Well, what you're talking about is a little tiny thing, but it is something we can do if we're in that situation. So it is really worth it doing that, because to go for the 31 trillion is really hard for most of us. But what you're giving is like, well, you can do this if your mortgage is impossible, or if you've got a major credit card debt. And I know you've spoken to me that it needs to be an unsecured debt, because they could actually take your house or car, so be careful.
Well, no, like what I really said, was there 2 types of debt? There's unsecured debt and secured debt. And we would always do the unsecured first with a person. Mm-hmm. And the only reason is because you don't have to show up to court with your unsecured debt, but with your secured debt, you do have to show up to court. and because there's a lien on your property or on your asset. But we know how to do that stuff. I was just saying that you should probably always start with the unsecured debt. It's just more simple to understand.
Okay, great. I mean, clearly, I'm a total beginner at this,
Oh, no,
and
it's
there's
okay.
you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I think you're doing great.
Okay, well, I want to thank you very much, and I really like what you say. Start where you are, and thank you ever so much. And I hope people go take a look at your site, if only just to start to get a grasp of this does exist.
Yeah.
And for you, it's not a mystery. You're doing it day after day.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of information on our YouTube that is definitely helpful. If you listen to that and start saying the same things we're saying to your creditors, it will work. And if it doesn't, feel free to reach out to us because we will help you with it. Right?
Great.
So yeah, and our email is unitedwestandpeople at gmail.com, and you can reach out there.
Okay, thank you again very much.
All right, Elsa. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.